dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Hey, man, what's going on? It's DieHard Derek Gordon. Yes, I am back. I know I had a little bit of a hiatus, but welcome back to the Midnight Hustle podcast. Dude, it was the end of summer. You know, I need some time off. I got to chill. I got to relax. Got to recharge my batteries. I got to find other people to interview. You know the deal, man. You know how this goes. But guess what? Today we got somebody right here, live in the flesh, talking to us. She's an indie veteran from the Northeast up top where I'm from. Yeah, I know I'm hiding out in Tampa now, but remember, don't forget, I'm originally from Brooklyn, and we got a hood girl here with us right now. She was trained in the NYWC, a place that I know very well from my days back in professional wrestling. But welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the Midnight Hustle, the one and the only, like I said, Northeast indie veteran, the one and the only Nikki Addams. Give it up for your girl. What's up, girl?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that great introduction.
Man, you know, there's so much we got to talk about. And honestly, for people out there, I don't know Nikki at all. Like, we are generations apart. I'm an old man, been in the wrestling business since 92. Nikki's been around for a little while, but we've never worked together. We've never even had a conversation until right here, right now. But I've grown to become such a fan of yours that I want to pick your brain a little bit and talk about your career and where you're going and what you've done. So, I mean, where else to do it than the Midnight Hustle, man? So thank you for joining us.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. Thank you so much. And I guess we might not be doing this interview alone because Simba's here to hang out.
Simba, that's the run-in. Simba doing a run-in there with the big paw. Look at her with the claw coming in here.
So he might stay the whole time. He might come and go, but cameo appearance.
Works for me, man. So like we were mentioning before, we've never worked before. I did some work with NYWC when I was working with NWA Cyberspace back in the day. Shout out to the guys over there, man. They're still going strong. They're still producing talents. I've always said that NYWC does not get the real recognition that they deserve in not only developing but discovering talent. I mean, they've discovered guys like Matt Cardona and Brian Myers, Trent Beretta, a lot of other guys out there, because one of their main coaches there at the school is Mikey Whipwreck, somebody that you were trained by. What was that experience like, getting trained by an ECW original and coming through the ranks in the New York territory?
Well, Mikey didn't actually train me directly, but he was always in and out and involved. Like, he always gave a lot of feedback. And I started under Pat Buck being trained by him. And he was there for a little while. And I got a lot of knowledge from him because of all of like his credentials and where he had been, which was very helpful. But he had ended up actually embarking on another opportunity. So the people that took over for him were selected by Mikey and trained thoroughly by him. So it was actually Alex Reynolds and Tony Nese.
Okay.
And then in the process of that also, I don't know if you're familiar with Crusher Dugan. He was such a great man. Like, that was a tough loss. Like, he was just so amazing, so kind, a father figure to everyone. He helped me a lot too. And like, he was always honest, but like helpful. His criticism was productive. He never made you feel bad about anything. And I got a lot of knowledge from him too, because he had so many great connections as well. And he was always so willing to share everything. So I was very interested. A lot of times, like, you might think like learning from a lot of different people might not always work out because you're trying to pick up things as you go. But each thing I got to learn from everyone, I'm very thankful for. There's certain things from each of them that stick in my brain all the time, and I apply them to each match. And whether well is to be said, but I remembered it, so it's like, and I try.
I tell my son the same thing. He's like, Dad, you got this outgoing personality. You can talk to anybody. Like, how did you do that? I'm like, dude, like, I don't sit there and create a character to become. I'm like, you know, as a child, you have people who, I don't want to say inspire you, but you start seeing characteristics in how they deal with people, how they own a room, how they talk, how they laugh, how they just interact and communicate with people. And you start picking up these things because deep down inside, you don't know who you are until you actually discover yourself later on in life, maybe teenage, college years and stuff like that. But it could be a movie character. It could be somebody that you've run into. It could be a teacher or a coach. And you start taking traits of those to actually build who you are. So it's funny that you mentioned that because you've had a lot of great people there. And again, I'm old. I'm so bad with names. I'm great with faces, but I want to say it was John Curse and Shane that I was working with way back in the days. And those
Yeah.
guys, I mean, are they still there with NYWC?
Yes, they are. I mean, I haven't been there in quite some time. I
Hmm.
had talked to them shortly before the pandemic
Hmm.
really took off, and then that whole thing happened. But they had just actually recently, in the past couple of months, started back up again, and they're like
Okay.
doing again. I haven't spoken to anybody in a while. I'd want to say the last time I had actually stopped by and spoken to them was probably in the earlier time of 2020.
Okay. Okay.
But they're
Well,
like getting the ball rolling again. Like
mhm.
they're having shows and like, so they're
which,
active. They're starting to
which
get
is
it.
great. I'm so glad to see them because she's like, yo, enough. This guy's talking too loud. What's going on here?
It's
But
the
I'm so glad that they survived the pandemic because that's pro wrestling's a hard business already trying to get people into the arena and fill those seats and for them to survive the pandemic. But just getting back to the original point, John and Shane, they were such great guys who really took like you said, that father figure approach in developing the talent and in training their schools and everything that they've done there in NYWC. And I had the utmost respect for them. So glad I got a chance to work with them. But it's funny because we mentioned that, and I wasn't sure if they survived the pandemic. And I go to check it out. I'm checking out, see who the new talent is, because I'm so detached from the business right now. I mean, it's such a disappointment creatively, especially in the major promotions. So I want to see, all right, who's the new up and comers? Who can I expect to see in the next couple of years? And I start going through the list there. You pop up, and then I see former NYWC Tag Team Champion with Dickie Rods. I'm like, whoa, wait. First of all, Dickie Rods, he's still wrestling, but this is way back when. Um, is he still working?
yes.
He is. All right. And the fact that you were tag team, then I saw it was like the rack and sack connection. I thought it was like a rip on the rock and sock connection. But tell me a little bit about,
Did.
was it?
Yeah.
But when I saw your stuff, what had me going, especially at that time, was the fact that you came in when you started your career during a time where the women's divisions they had them, but they weren't as strong and taken as seriously as they are right now. I mean, they had the quote unquote evolution. You've been part of the transition, but even in those early days, you were doing intergender wrestling when people were like, hey, I'm not selling for a chick in the ring. I'm not getting in there. Here you are doing it before Tessa Blanchard ended up going to Impact Wrestling and winning their world title. You had already done this. You're still in the ring wrestling intergender matches. Why did that
True.
become so popular for your character?
I have no idea.
That's the best answer there.
I have no idea. It was turf that wasn't done. I got
Uh,
merged over there. It turned out to be okay. I really enjoyed it. No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like wrestling women too, but the fact that I mean, now it's more normal, but then it was like more of a totally different ball game.
uh-huh.
Like, well, that's cool. This is something like, I mean, aside from learning and training, it's like to have matches with men instead was just a whole different game in front of everybody. And then it turned out that I really enjoyed it. That it continued on. Like I would have intergender matches other places as well. In November, I have 2 intergender matches. So I'm like,
Still doing it.
yep,
Okay.
yep.
That's your calling card, though. And like I said, back then it wasn't as accepted as now. Even now, it's hard. But I remember back, like 2004, 2005, if you had one female match on a male dominant card, the locker room's like, oh, why are you wasting that spot for? That cheapens the product. I'm like, well, dude, women's wrestling. Well, who doesn't want to see that? You had the Fabulous Moolah. You had, the Alundra Blaze, the Sherry Martells. Nobody said it was cheapening the product back then. Speaking of Sherry, I know you're a big fan of her. She's one of your icons, your legends, the person that you look up to. You
Yeah.
idolized her. What was it about Sherry Martell that's considering the era that she wrestled in, where she barely got TV time as women's champion, where she was more, managerial, but getting involved in these matches with some of the biggest names in the business?
Part of the thing. Like
Uh-huh.
she didn't get time as far as like wrestling goes and
Mhm.
things like that. But she made the most of her time. Like she would manage, she'd get involved. They'd be like, they would tell her she's going to have something to do in this match. And clearly you could just tell by watching her, she was gung-ho. She's like in there. And when she would get bumped or something would happen to her, you could tell there was no like, let me take this dainty. She just like took it and got involved and just did it like with confidence. And like, she just was who she is. And like, look, to what it seems like, it's that she, like, on the outside looking in, she knew who she was. There was no doubt about it. She knew what she had to offer and the confidence was there. That's how it comes across to me. Now, sometimes you get to know, like, people are really good at just showing that, and maybe it's not. But I'll tell you one thing, if it's not, like, doesn't matter. She did an amazing job, and like you could have fooled me. I just thought she was great. I love that, like, she was very much like, this is me and this is how it is, and if you like it, good. If you don't, that's your problem.
And you know, it's crazy because in that era, in the late 80s, the early 90s, such a rare breed, because for a woman who wants to get in the business, like, all right, you're the fifth ring post, go valet and just do this shit for the entire match, and that's it. Sherry was like, look, I'm coming down with the evening gown, sequins dress on, in the high pumps. When shit's about to go down, I'm going to take those pumps off, climb the cage, take the finish. She made herself so effective, not just in her promos, but in her in-ring abilities, that they're like, we got to use her for a spot. She's there. She brings more to the game. Like, people want to see her take the finish more than anybody else. She inserted herself in a way where most promoters, most fans, like, we don't need a woman in the match. But then you bring a woman in the match, like, wow, that's the difference in what made this match better than anything else on the card. And Sherry did that. I find that, again, you started your career before that big transition, before that acceptance of the women's revolution. Were you disappointed when you first got in, knowing that, hey, I'm going to have to claw and fight my way to the top and fight for my spot and prove who I am? Because right now, women's wrestling isn't something that's being embraced by the fans and by promoters.
I don't think I was disappointed because I still wanted to do it. Like, I get, it's kind of hard to explain because there's so many thoughts in there. So I signed up and I started wrestling. I wanted to be part of this big change. And in the long run, I wish I could have made more of an impact, like the way other people were able to do so, which is amazing. Like, just look at it now. Like, it's incredible. But I wanted to be there. I wanted to make a change. I wanted to train and just see what I could do, whether I was good, bad, or indifferent. Because a lot of it came down to, I'm like, well, I don't want to look back and be like, well, you know, you should have tried it. It's too late now. You know, you let that opportunity go by, and just give it a shot. Disappointed. There were times where you would feel disappointment where, like, it'd be like, all right, here's your 5-minute match. And it's like, you just kind of maybe wanted that opportunity to see if you could do more. In the beginning, you know, that's obviously okay because you're really new. So you're trying to learn. So like, I can understand why that would be the way it is at the time. You don't want to the truth is you're still trying to learn and figure it out. And less in a lot of cases is more, you know, but sometimes, yeah, like wanting to have things that would happen and stuff. I remember being very excited to be put in a spot in the Psycho Circus at NYWC.
Oh my God,
and
yes.
I didn't hate in the match, but I remember having a spot in it and being super excited. Like, I was a little scared because, again, I was really, really new and never had any involvement with anything aside from just like bumping and wrestling. And I was like, this is it. Going through tax. Great. And I was terrified.
Was that your spot?
Yeah, it involved a girl at the time, Violet, who unfortunately no longer wrestles, but that was it. We were going to mix it up, get in there, be in tax. And I'm like, cool. As scared as I was really excited. Oddly enough, I'll say this. Didn't feel anything. Felt it the next day. Didn't feel any time because the adrenaline was so high. I didn't know what got stuck in me. And then we came back like, whoa.
You like Scarface with that mountain of cocaine. Like, what bullets?
Right. And I love that reference. So thank you. So yeah, that was really exciting. And like, to get more opportunities that would be just different and push things to a different level. So it's like, I might not have achieved like as much as other people did, but I guess for me in my world, I did okay. Like I didn't do the most, but I did okay because I also went in originally with the mindset of if I could just learn how to do this and do okay, that'd be something. Because sometimes we want to learn things and there's no guarantee we're going to be amazing.
Right.
You know, sometimes we love things and maybe it turns out it's just not for us.
Mm-hmm.
So in a lot of ways, even though like people might say, well, she didn't make it anywhere. She didn't do this. She didn't get signed. She doesn't do dark matches. She doesn't do extra work for stuff like that. That's okay because I really didn't look at it as a failure. Because to be honest, the entire time I've been wrestling and like currently, it's like there's other things going on in your life. And sometimes no matter how much you want to be there for certain things, realistically, you cannot be to sustain your life. And by sustain your life, you mean like have somewhere to live and like pay your bill,
right?
And get to work. And, you know, maybe if you're lucky, have a little bit of money to eat. So, you know, I moved out of my house when I was 19. That was it. That's just how it was. My parents were just like, okay, this is what's going to happen. And, you know, I started training shortly after that. You know, they're like, if you want to train, by all means, go ahead. But you're going to go be an adult. And if you can figure that all out and make it work, good for you. So, you know, bills, work, things.
That real life shit.
Right. And like, if I would have been living at home, it might have been different, you know, because I would have had more time and stuff like that. And to be honest, that's honestly okay too, because I give my parents so much credit. Like, I don't need anybody. If you're here, it's because I want you to be here.
Sure.
You know, I sustain on my own. Like, I don't need anybody to pitch into a bill. Like, I'm good. I handle it. And unfortunately, like I said, at times, you know, there would be opportunities that maybe I wouldn't be able to do. But at the same token, like, honestly, if I'm proud of anything, I'm proud of the fact that, like I said, I'm good. I'm by like, I can do this alone. I want you here, but I'm going to make it and I'm going to be just fine the way I am on my own. So I give them a lot of credit for that. And, you know, hopefully they can think peacefully and feel okay about it, that the day that, you know, unfortunately, the day that comes, they won't ever have to worry about me. They'll be like, she's good.
Right.
So a lot of ways, I'm very content with that. And there's been other opportunities for things to come up. And I know it's going to sound crazy, but I've just decided I'm okay. Like, I'm like, oh. And I mean, know that
like dark matches or spots in a bigger promotion get other eyeballs on you.
Like a couple months ago, I was asked to do something that would have maybe you never know, because sometimes it's just getting eyes on you. Sometimes it'll lead to something. But sometimes they'll be like, oh, well, I'll bring you back at least and look at you again. Maybe you'll do this, whatever. And I actually was gonna like do all the stuff for that. It wasn't even about that. But then I switched jobs because I'd been going to school like this whole time. Recently I've been going to school and I just finished it. Nobody knows about that. I don't post about it. If you ever look, my social media, it doesn't tell you much about me except for maybe like how much I like music and obviously Queen and Freddie Mercury. And if I have upcoming, right. But other than that, or I'll just post something that's like really funny to me or a joke, and like people will be like, she's strange, and that's okay too. But a lot like that goes on in my actual life is very much away. I think more now people might actually know my real name as well, but like that's been like a mystery for the longest time as well. Like, oh, we thought your name was Nicole, which is always funny to me. Like, or when people will go, hey, Nicole, and like I won't even know they're talking to me because it's not my name.
You're like, oh, me?
And I won't. I think they're talking to someone else, and then I turn over. I'm like, oh, okay. You're talking to me. Sorry, but yeah. So things like that, and so I recently switched jobs and like took a whole different turn in career, and that kind of took precedent over it, you know, because when I first started wrestling, I had went to school and I was working in a hair salon, building a clientele. and like that was going to be my career and my future. And problem is with that is that you need to have weekend availability for wrestling, and your money and your career in that field is also the weekend. And it came down to the point where somebody in my training said to me, well, you either get a different job and dedicate fully to this, or that's it. And am I doing hair anymore? No. So
weekends are free.
completely went in a whole different direction. And I worked a totally different field. And, you know, I got benefits and stuff, and that was good. But you get to a point with that where that'll stop. You kind of just stop. There's nowhere to go anymore with that. And the pandemic happened, and I'm like, you know, I need to go in a completely different direction here because shit just got real. Like, you learn and work and do something, and if push comes to shove, I need to be able to work at home. So learned a whole different thing. And I started a new job, and like the job schedule got really strict. And since I'm still very new, I'm just like, I just can't take off. And then the odds that like they would find out the reason for it, I'm just like,
right.
Or you mind if I go do this? And it's like, as cool as it is for us, for people that aren't in the business or a wrestling fan or whatnot, they're not going to get it.
Yeah.
You know, especially when they just hired you for like for you to take something seriously. And you're like, well, you know what? I'm going to go do this. Thanks for hiring me. I love it, but I'll be back. And
like, I got my dream I'm chasing. Yeah,
right.
They don't pay you for that part. They're like, yo, listen, we got work here too. It's this or that. You're gonna have to make a choice, and that's really hard. I mean, you know, I won't say any entertainer, whether you're in music, you're in movies, you're in sports, you have to make certain sacrifices, and that's the hardest part, because what they don't realize is like, yeah, chase your dream. You can be anything you want to be. Like, who the fuck's gonna pay my bills while I'm doing that? Like, yo, just because they're there.
That's it. That's it. But in some aspects, you know, other people had different things going on in their life, which gave them more opportunity, which is also okay. There's honestly nothing wrong with like any of the things, you know, it's just in some cases, for some people, you got to make sacrifices or make choices. And, you know, in a lot of ways, sometimes it's like, well, do I do this opportunity? And if I do it, something good might come out of it, and something does in the cases that you make it to them, which is good. But at the other time, on the back burner, which nobody will know, is that you definitely just screwed yourself over somewhere.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
what am I going to do here?
Is that the goal, the desire?
Okay.
You want to be a wrestler full time? Is that what you want? Or are you just like, listen, I enjoy doing it. If it happens, great. But listen, I got this other career here to fall back on. And what's that?
Currently, yes, that's my attitude, is that I work. I actually like my job for like, you know, which is nice because that's always happened. Out of tons of jobs I've had, did not. I've liked other jobs in the past, but a lot of them would definitely be like, oh my God.
Right.
Yes. Like a few years ago, I was definitely pursuing it as a full-time thing, and that's what I wanted to do. But obviously working a full-time job for several years, I've had 2 jobs. In the beginning, it was very, very necessary for me to pay for things. Now I actually do it just because I have goals and things I want to save for and make happen. And when I achieve them, it's solely me doing it.
Right.
You know, very important for me. Like when I was able to buy my first brand new car, like that was a very big accomplishment for me. A lot of things that I've needed to do, fortunately, like I've really pushed forward to do on my own. And like, those are proud moments for me. And like, that's like, if nobody else knows that, again, I don't always share, you know, like things. If nobody else knows that, that's okay. Because a lot of times in wrestling, I'm sure, especially with like other people in wrestling and fans, they might be like, well, you know, she just didn't go anywhere. And that's okay. Because to be honest, maybe I would have. Maybe someone would have thought I wasn't good enough. I don't know. You know, like, I'm solid. I'm not the best. Like, that's just the way it is, you know? And nowadays I do things because I want to help out, and because I'm going to dress up like Freddie Mercury, and I'm going to have a great time. And you're not taking that away from me. Like, general, like in my stage in life, I'm just like, I earned the right to have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was patient for that, and I will gladly help, and I still have fun having matches and things like that. And I do the best I can. And sometimes I have pretty good matches. And sometimes I look back and go, wow.
Wow. Yeah. Ouch.
I'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
and like, I'm very well aware that there's so many, like just in general, anybody, like men or women, there's so many other women that are just so amazing,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure I could work with them and do well. And, to be honest, if they're going to be better than me, that's okay, because I can learn from that and help me. And I'm sure if they're decent, I could have a decent match with them. I'm sure. But like, I'm very well aware and realistic that there are so many women out there that are better than me. And that's okay. Like, that's okay. Okay that people can be better than you, like, that's all right. You can keep working on it and do what you need to do. Like, my big goal here is to do the best I can. And the thing that I'm most proud of in that aspect is the fact that I'm very safe.
Mm-hmm.
You can say anything you want about me. Like, you can do that, but I'm not going to let someone take that one away from me. I'm very proud of the fact that you can rely on me to be there for what you need, and that I've been very fortunate enough to make sure that the person is safe. Because like, to me, that's the most important. Like, if something happens to go awry, as long as my opponent and myself are okay, that's really what's key to me.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's now like,
no, but it's good to know, because a lot of people go in there with a competitive nature. I mean, you get all walks of life in the wrestling business. You get people in there like yourself who's like, listen, I love the art and the craft of pro wrestling, and I want to go in there, and I know the first thing I've got to do is protect my opponent and make sure that they're safe the entire match. You get other people who are a little they're a little intimidated by the locker room, and they start to second guess themselves. I remember back in the 90s, these were managers, and there was a chair spot, and she's like, man, she's prettier than I am. She works better than I am. The crowd loves her more than they love me. So I'm going to flip the chair the other way, not the part that folds, but with the hard edge around. I'm going to hit it over there, and maybe she won't be on the next show. I'm like, that's fucked up. You're out. Get out of the locker room. Don't even come back.
Absolutely disgusting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is disgusting. Like, there's a thing I heard firstly, you go into wrestling and like, what it is. Like, if you really want to be hurting people, maybe you need to be in a different
sport. Go to MMA. Go do that shit.
Right. Like, that's first and foremost. And like, how would you feel if someone had that out for you like that? Like, like, that's a really, honestly, a depressing and disturbing attitude to have. Like, and there's an interview with Bret Hart, and I think he probably says it in several interviews, but there's one in particular that like, he's just like, hey, even if you like the person or not, he's just like, it's your job this is wrestling. The job is to be able to put on a good show, sell, make people entertained, and do the job you need to do. And at the end of the day, you get to go out the next day and do it again.
Right.
Like, not for nothing. Like, I'd like to walk and be okay the next day to go to work, just like I'm sure the next, or for like your next match as well. Like, I can't understand that. Like,
but I mean, you're in a full contact sport, even though wrestling is fake, but you're still getting, the injuries are real. And if you're working with somebody you don't like, somebody that you're not handling them, it's just like you feel like you're walking around with a target on your back. Like, why would you do it for the spot? I mean, if we make money together, we all make money. If the promotion succeeds, if the feud works, if people are buying tickets to watch us work, why would you want to hurt me? I mean, this is all predetermined bullshit anyway. Why the fuck do we have to take it to a level where I won't be able to work, I won't be able to walk, I won't be able to take care of my family? It's just, there's a lot of things about this business that I have resentment towards, and I'm just like, I can't. Luckily, it's cleaned up a little bit. Things are a lot different now than they were, I want to say, 10, 15, 20 years ago, but there's so many things in this business, especially when you're dealing with the politics of pro wrestling, all the bullshit in the locker room. There's so many things that I've experienced myself that pushed me away from the business, because I was like, why did I give so much? Why did I put so much of my love and my passion into something that will never love me back and love me in return? And then I saw the people that I was around. A lot of those people were broken on the inside and trying to figure out why they're not moving up, why they didn't get the shot, why. But motherfucker, you look at all the bridges you burned. Look at all the people you hurt. Look at how you stiffed a promoter. I mean, it's just it drives me crazy why people want to get in this business. I know you can watch it as a kid and imagine and have that fantasy of yourself in the ring against whatever opponent may be, main eventing at WrestleMania. But once you taste that locker room for the first time and the bullshit that goes on behind the scenes, you see it in a completely different light. And some people get consumed by that. You've been able to maintain your head above water by just putting on good work and being a good hand. But have you ever had that target on your back where you feel like, oh, I've got to work with so-and-so, and I know they're out to get me. I know they feel threatened by my ability or my spot on the card.
I don't know if, like, again, like, I've always regarded myself as decent. So I think, I mean, I can't speak on what other people would think, but I would hope no one is threatened by me. If you're newer than me, like, I'm going to do my best to help you. And then if we're equal, or even if, like, even people that came after me that are really good, like, don't be threatened by me because, times have also changed. Like, you're good. You're probably even better, like, than me, like, to be honest, like, I can give you a decent match. I can promise that. But, like, you probably have more skills and more abilities than I could even have. There's no reason for it.
Right.
And that was it. Like, look, like, sometimes you just need to know where you are in your role. And, like, I can give you a decent match. I can help newer people. Like, yeah, let me help you do this and let me help you do that or whatever. And then you can graduate past me and, like, move on to other people and stuff. And that's okay. Like, I don't want to take anything from anybody. Never have. I've wanted to accomplish things, but, like, in a fair way. And I think in a lot of ways, aside from the other stuff we already talked about, that maybe I bit myself in my ass myself, because, like, truth be told, like, if you were to put me next to someone right now and be like, okay, well, we can only pick one of you for this big opportunity, I guarantee you I'm probably like, you know what, you should pick her.
Oh.
And that's me.
I was just talking to somebody about that the other day. Like, I've seen I'm a huge movie junkie, so I'm always watching the Oscars. It's like my World Series, and I've seen Oscars where guys get nominated for Best Actor, Best Actress, and they have this gut feeling they're gonna win, and shit don't go their way, and they're like, and the camera's on them. They got all 5 heads, and they're like, oh, fuck, God damn it. They pick up, they leave. They're like, all right, I'm done. I don't need to be here anymore. Meanwhile, you get a guy like Tom Cruise, who everybody always want to criticize. Listen, I'm not into Scientology and that shit, but this is a guy who,
person, like, we're taking
as a person, he's at the award shows, and Tom don't have an Oscar in his house. He deserves one. He's long overdue. Somebody else wins. He's the first guy. Fucking yeah, good for you, man. And I'm like, that's what we need more people pushing each other up than dragging them down for that spot. Again, if we all work together, we all make money. And a statue isn't going to define your career. It's that for that moment. You're only as good as your last match, your last movie, your last ball game, whatever the case it was. So I just find it weird that you still have so much to offer, but you're already in the mentorship role where you're like, hey, fuck it, man. No, you take this. Let me help you get up there. When you haven't even got to that spot yet, you have done so much, and you have so much of that potential, and you bring so much to the table to give it to somebody else who may just piss it away. I mean, sometimes you got to be a little greedy. She's like, that's not my style. I don't do that shit.
Well, here's the thing. Wrestling is very tricky too, because you're talking about, it depends on the people. Like, there are some people that really, really like me and, like, have an idea of, like, the person that I am.
Yeah.
And then there's people that obviously, like, not everyone's going to like you, that probably don't have nice thoughts about me. And that's okay. It makes me a little sad. Like, when you bring up the other stuff as well, it's like, I want to see people do well, even if, like, maybe you don't like me or you have a reason or whatever your thoughts are. I'm like, oh, you're like, sometimes you just get ideas about whatever. Like, I still want to see people do well and succeed, because wrestling is really difficult. Like, we all know what it's like to take bumps and to figure ourselves out and to learn moves and to learn how to do things and, like, win over a crowd and do this and get an opportunity and do that. Like, I'm genuinely happy for people, like, I really am. And well, when I'm really happy for people when I know how hard they worked and how good of a person they are. Like, I'm ecstatically happy for them when they get opportunities. But like, I'm still happy when I see people that I knew or whatever. It's like, I'm never, and like, people might not even realize that because like they don't know, or they just have these thoughts. Like, I'm never again like, damn, they shouldn't have gotten that. Damn it. I wish they wouldn't be there. Like, I'm actually not like that at all.
You're a rare
Like,
breed, man.
like, that's great and I'm happy. You know, I'm never mad that I didn't get something. Like, look, it just didn't happen. Maybe it will. I don't know, but it just did. You know, like, life. I don't know what to say, but
would you consider that your Achilles heel though? Like maybe your demeanor, your kindness, you're so giving that maybe that's what's holding you back. That maybe you're your own worst enemy.
I mean, a lot of hey, this happens in my real life too. If I'm honest. Oh, go ask her because we already know she's not gonna say no. We need this. She's not gonna say no. Hey, go hang out tonight. Like, maybe we'll go do this. But what if we that? Yeah, okay, we'll do that. Sure. Right. Yeah. Okay.
You just want to see everybody happy. You want to see everybody just coexist, which is good. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just you never get your moment. That's the thing is that life is full of moments and life don't wait for anybody. So if you continue passing you're never going to live your shit, man. You got things to grab and take. So sometimes you got to knock another motherfucker off. It's just like, yo, get out of here. It's my shot.
Well, yeah, I mean, I look for things in, I guess how they say you can stay in your lane. Like, don't worry, I get out of my lane for things at times, you know?
All right.
But maybe not so much always in wrestling, but like but yeah, like that's a lot of the times too. It's like you're right. I do want to see people happy. I never want to hurt feelings, you know, and
but do you do it at the risk of your own happiness? Like, do you put your own happiness aside so everybody else can be happy around you? You do, don't you?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not a big deal because sometimes you think about that's silly. Like, who cares? Look, it's not that important to me. That's okay. Like, it's more important to the person, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's like you know.
Oh, and then there's plenty of instances like that. But they're like, oh, listen, it's raining outside. There's a puddle. Nikki, will you mind laying down on that puddle so we can walk across it? I was like, I got it. No problem. Get on my back. Which is funny because getting back to your career, seeing you whip dudes' asses, you would never think that you were that kind of pushover. I've seen these things and I'm like, all right, I'm waiting for the comedy spot, and there might be a little ha thing, but you legit fucking these dudes up in the ring, and I'm like, oh, Nikki's not messing around.
Oh, you could try to hold your own because that's another way that you're going to get taken seriously. If you don't hold your own, you know, you'll definitely get walked all over, and in that aspect, that's physical. So you're just like, I probably need to stand my ground here. But I was to say, so like, the guys were always easy to work with, you know, on my end, like, you know, because like it could be intimidating knowing that it is going to be intergender. And obviously at the end of the day, if push comes to shove and you're wrestling someone bigger than you, that's, you know, I'm female. That could be nerve wracking, but, you know, like everyone was always receptive to me and worked really well with me, and they were never selfish. They gave, you know, and it wasn't like that. Well, I'm not going to sell. Like, if I did something, somebody gave, like, they sold for me, and like that was always appreciated because in the end of the day, like, depending on certain aspects of it, you didn't really have to, like did that and wanted to do things and work with me and make something work together. That was always something I really appreciated, especially, like I said, with guys. It's one thing with girls because, you know, usually unless you're like into like a different, like me versus Nyla, those are always interesting. Obviously, you have a different story and scenario there, but a lot of wrestle girls kind of, for the most part, should be on an even playing field. And every time I worked with a guy, like, they were always very giving to me and willing to work with me. Somebody that worked with me really well was Dan Echoes. Like, he was awesome. Like, I would chop him and he would act like he just got like shot in the chest. Oh yeah. He was for that. Yeah.
Well, that's like, what I'm wondering is if, I mean, again, the old school mentality of I can't sell for a girl because then how's it going to look if, you know, she beats me or she hurts me and then I get into a ring with a guy bigger than me the next match, he'll destroy me. You never had any resistance from these guys worrying about protecting their character having any resistance with them wanting to work with you or sell for you?
No,
Wow,
no.
that's
I
tremendous.
times where you might have like different thoughts and be like, well, what about that? And then, but like you'd just get there and be like, well, this works, and then you'd be okay with it, which was always really nice,
Right.
Yeah, like it was. I can't think of a lot of cases where guys were just like, no,
Not happening. Yeah. Not good.
no,
Yeah. Doesn't work for me,
no,
brother.
no.
And no shit talking from the females like, oh, she's only working with guys because she's trying to move up faster. No jibber jabber in the back.
But at NYWC, there were barely any females there.
Oh, well, there's that. Like, nobody look. Fuck it. All right, who's next?
I mean, there was like, it was me, and then there was Violet. She was cool, it's sad that she didn't stick around longer, but she came in because she actually wasn't a wrestling fan since she was a kid. She happened to just stumble upon it. That's awesome. And then she just decided to go for it, which is really cool, because everyone always thinks you need to be a fan from when you're a kid. Not always the case. You could find new things at any time and just be like, that's great, which is what happened with her. And she came in and already had a previous issue with her knee. And the thing is, the more she started to train and wrestle, the worse it got. And it got to the point where she needed a surgery, and she just realized that coming back and whatever, and like the other stuff going on, because like sometimes you get surgery and then in the process, while you're trying to compensate for something else starts to hurt and like get messed up, as that she just, after it was time for that, like she had her last match, and like we worked like the angle of like she was leaving because of me, and like the last match she had is like, I was just gonna do away with her and be like, you're out of here, and like destroy her. And then she ended up getting what she needed done, but she just found it to the point where she's just like, hey, as much as I enjoy it and love it and stuff, she's just like, realistically, it's just not physically going to be a thing for me. So that's kind of what ended it for her, which is sad, because she was such a nice girl. I adore her. I still talk to her occasionally. I should text her. I don't talk to her in a little bit, so I should reach out.
All right. If she's watching, she's gonna be waiting for that text. Just know that. So if she's watching, she's like, yo, Nikki never texted me. She said my knee still hurts. Let's go.
What a liar.
Let's talking about these dudes though. I mean, we talk about guys not wanting to work or sell for you, but what about the guys that stepped up so they can take liberties with you, either work stiff with you or take liberties in other ways that might be inappropriate in the ring? Like, oh yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on her in the ring, and they're holding a hold too long, or they're digging too deep for a body slam, and it's just like, have you experienced these scumbags that want to get in the ring with you for the wrong reason?
Again, guys, not really.
No, you must be really whipping these dudes' ass. Like, you know what? I was gonna try with Nikki, but forget it. I'm good.
As far as working together in the ring, most of the time things with the guys were okay.
Okay.
So like I remember like knowing that whatever moves were to come or whatever, I felt good about it. Like I was just like I know that I'll be okay. They'll take care of me, and like obviously vice versa. Yeah. Nothing sticks out. I mean, who knows? But I could be blacking out, but I don't have any.
Yeah. And the reason why I asked is when I was booking Cyberspace, we would write spots. I was like, all right, there's a female there. She's a worker, but she's managing tonight. What we'll do is, so-and-so will roll out. He'll turn around. She'll come off the top, do the hurricanrana. And then the guy's like, I'm not going to sell that hurricanrana. I'm going to just hold it there for a little while and wiggle it. I was like, scrap that right now. Like, that's just not happening. The match isn't happening. And it was just like, you would hear things in the back of dudes just wanting to take advantage of the females. Again, like I said, this is a shitty business with shitty people in it, and it's very hard to sift through it and be like, oh, I'm only going to hang out with the good people who have no ill will or ill intentions. I mean, there's monsters everywhere. And most recently, in the last couple of years, between cancel culture, between woke culture, wrestling had their little speaking out movement, and a lot of people were coming forward, mainly on the independents, not necessarily in the big leagues. Maybe they've been there already and they were talking about things that happened years prior, but like as of right now, careers are being destroyed because of accusations and incidents that were happening in the ring that people were speaking out for the first time. Did you experience anything of that nature?
Any things that were not particularly nice
Well,
for me.
something that maybe you didn't speak out on, or that you did speak out on. I might have missed that tweet.
No, I never say anything.
You didn't say. You're like, he didn't mean it.
No, and I don't for a different reason. And a lot of it is, I think it's great that people do express themselves, but I guess for me, I don't know if it's something for like just the way I brought up or whatever, or just me as a person. Again, like I keep a lot of things in my life very away.
Right.
And to be honest, there are things that have occurred that are not so nice. I'm not gonna deny that.
No.
But I did a lot of like work on myself and like doing what I needed to do, that I was able to like I'm okay. I'm okay. Yeah. And maybe a few years ago or something, or if things went a different way, maybe not, like I'm not sure. And there's nothing wrong with people needing to do what they need to do in that aspect, because everyone needs to be okay no matter how they get there. And it's just like, I think a character trait for me that I always have just kind of kept myself pretty quiet, and the close people around me know things, and they were a big support system for me. And that's it for me, like good. I very much like that. And in a lot of aspects for people, it's a very big part of the healing process, which is necessary, because nobody should be tormented and be stuck that way.
Exactly.
And then there's some people that might not have to, or feel compelled, or to be honest, in a lot of cases, there are times where rehashing something for you that you might have come to terms with already actually can cause you more harm.
Right.
And a lot of, I considered that since I felt like I was okay and I was good, that I could hurt myself, and I did not want to do that. Because to be honest, I had hurt for a long time. So why?
Yeah, why go back to it? Why relive that? There's no need for a reboot of pain. It's just, and there's a lot of people out there who, I guess, like I said, with the cancel culture and the speaking up movement, they were like, well, you're saying this now. Why didn't you say it then? But then you have the other people who are just like, I don't need to be a martyr for what happened. It happened to me. I will handle it. I will find a way to either find that person, deal with it, communicate with that person, seek the help that I need to help that person get the help that they need, and so on and so forth. But it just seems like, with everybody with the Twitter fingers and social media, it's let's go put it out there on blast. And sometimes these things are inaccurate, or they're false statements, or they're just sabotaging careers. Instead of doing it in the ring, they're doing it on social media. We're like, well, there was only 400 people at the rec center. I got about 14,000 following me. Let me go blow them up over here and ruin everything that he or she has been working towards. And I just find it, when I was running the shows, we didn't have social media. I was literally papering the town with the flyers and putting shit on car windows and in the stores and stuff like that. But there was a website, the DOI website. And oh my God, the shit that they would say about my family, about me, about, Billy Firehawk and all the people. I was just like, what the fuck? They're getting away with it. There were times where I would see them in shows. I was going to beat the shit out of them. I was literally going to walk, just like, this motherfucker. But it's like, if I do that, they win. The minute that you react, the ignorance wins. From what I'm hearing now, again, because of the advent of social media, because of smartphones, a lot of wrestlers are reluctant to do the shenanigans and the antics that they would do 10, 15 years ago, before there was that kind of technology. Now, a lot of these guys are like, look, I'm just go back to the room, go play video games, and we're good. Stay out of it. You were there during the transition. How have you seen the difference in the backstage culture?
But I was actually just talking about this past weekend. Like, to be honest, what happened and the whole movement on its own, to be honest, it really did need to happen, because it changed a lot of things. Like, when I first started wrestling, it was a rough place, especially for a female. Like, it was tough. You know, like it was just hard. You know, you had people that like when you start there, they're like they're not used to you being there, and like just the wrestling business in general is a really hard place to start out with as a female, because again, you're talking about like these small matches, that kind of thing, and like just reputations and things like that. um this whole movement has really put like that on halt, and I really hope it's on a halt. Like I don't have eyes
Permanently.
everywhere, ears
Mhm.
everywhere, and I just hope that like everyone has gotten the picture that don't try your bullshit,
Mhm.
because it's not okay. And I don't care who you think you are to get away with whatever it is, who you are, where you're from, whatever. You can't do that to people, and people don't deserve the harm that you're going to do to them physically and or mentally.
Right.
You know, that's the thing. Like, people did deserve the right to speak about things that they needed to speak about.
Mhm.
And for other people to try to make a comment and be like, why didn't you say something then? How ignorant are you?
Yeah.
How ignorant are you? You don't know what that person thinks, what that person feels, what they went through at that time, what their life has like come to, like what they've experienced, what they've done to get there, and like where they're at or what they need at that point. You don't get to pass judgment or make a
Mhm.
comment on that. That's not up to you to decide.
Right.
You're not in that person's brain. You don't feel or think what they feel or think. You don't get a right to judge that.
Mhm.
And that bothers me the most, to be honest. Like, you don't get to judge that. That's not up to you. That's solely up to the person that has experienced a dreadful, awful thing,
Mhm.
and they need to do what they need to do so they can be okay. And people try to shame them for that.
Mhm.
Well, when you try to shame somebody for that, it kind of makes it sound like you don't really care if they end up okay or not. And
Yeah.
like, to me, that's absolutely atrocious.
Mhm. Now, outside of people who have been victimized in the business, have you, or do you know anybody close to you? Don't mention names, obviously, but anybody close to you that might have been impacted with a false accusation, or maybe it was a real accusation, like, holy shit, so and so did what? I would never expect that from him or her. Like, anything throw you off? Has had a name popped up that was smeared through the mud that you're like, oh shit, I had no idea.
Uh yes, people that I was very shocked about, that I was like, oh, but
Yeah.
like, I don't know if I don't think I was very close, but there was other people that you've met and you're like, you're so cool. And then you're just like, you
Right.
hear it, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah, it takes you back, and it makes you wonder what makes these people tick, or what their real true intentions were in getting in the business. Because listen, the business has evolved into more of a business than a boys club than it was years ago, and the shit that would go on, and the wild story. Hell, look at what they just happened recently with the Dark Side of the Ring and the plane ride from hell, and the kind of shit that Ric Flair's taking. Now, granted, everybody knows that Ric Flair used to walk around naked under the robe and swing his ding-a-ling around like a helicopter, but it wasn't until we actually heard from the side of a victim. And you're like, oh shit, it sounded funny before, but hearing it from her, nah, now it paints a different picture. You picture the woo when they're walking around until you hear somebody who's been traumatized or who had to deal with that, whose family was impacted by that. Like, oh, it's not funny anymore. And I feel like a lot of those issues are coming to light, but because of the advent of social media, more people are just like, you know what? There's too many cameras around. You know what? Maybe I just need to be a better person and take a deeper look at the person I am and why I'm here and get the fuck away from this right now. It's hard, and I experienced a lot of stuff years ago in WCW, I did work in NWA Cyberspace and stuff like that. And I would see those guys, and it came to a point where it was like, I don't know if I want this guy on my show anymore. I don't know if the talent feels right with him. I don't know if I even want the guys that were giggling because they knew what was going on in the locker room. It's almost like you see the well being poison. You're like, what do I do to salvage this situation? What do I do to protect? As a promoter and as a booker, you have to protect your talent, because if they don't feel safe in your locker room, you're just as bad as the predator themselves. So it's like I said, I've been so far removed from it. But I keep hearing the stories, and I have the flashbacks of my own personal experiences and the things that I witnessed, that I wondered if the business has changed, or if this is just another way for the business to save face so that they don't kill pro wrestling, so that people don't, throw that little stank when somebody mentions wrestling, like, oh, that boys club that treats women inappropriately, that gets away with murder, that it's all sorts of bullshit going on there. So again, coming from me, I'm glad to hear that the talks are still being had, that the awareness is still out there, and that there's still good people like you out there trying to protect others. So thank God for that.
Thank you. I mean, I think, especially considering this whole movement and everything, things have definitely moved in more of a positive way. Over the weekend, I was like just sitting and looking around, and I'm like, I'm really glad that women get to come in, like girls, like young girls and whatever, and they come in, and it's like, you know what? Maybe they won't have to be exposed to these things.
Right.
Maybe they'll just be able to surpass it and like get to do their thing. And like, because I'm not gonna lie, like sometimes these things happen and then they just mess you up and they taint you and then they make you fall. And then you know what? The fire and like that passion and that desire to do these things kind of just burns out with it. All of a sudden you have this lit candle and it just blows right out. And one day you're like, how did he get here? And I knew something was wrong. Not just that, in general, I knew that I needed to slow down and maybe consider taking some time off or whatever, because I'd started to get ready to go, and I put my bag in the car and I'd sit in the seat and get ready to drive, and I'd be like, man, I can't wait to be home. And I was like, wow, okay, I'm just having an off day, I'm like it's a phase. Yeah. Well, like a whole year or so went by, and I'm like, that's not a phase.
Right.
Granted, I had what was supposed to be a retirement match. It didn't. COVID happened. That erases everything.
Wait, you were going to have a retirement match?
I had one.
You had one. Okay.
COVID erased it.
All right.
Because anything that happens like before or whatever
don't count. Real. Yeah.
Like as far as like your retirement doesn't count. Other things are real, obviously, but came back. I did miss it. It did help. It really helped me to have a good portion of time away. But I also know I can't do it like nonstop. Like I can't have like several matches a weekend every weekend. I know I can't do. And I'm content where I'm at now, and that's okay. Like, like everyone's got their own thing, but I was thinking over the weekend, I'm just really glad that it's not so difficult, for females in particular, because really, like, aside from everything, you just wanted to be taken seriously. You didn't want to get like one of these like she thinks she's gonna have her match, come on, give her a solid 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, well, that was great. And then behind, like, they're in the locker room, like, that was a mess. But like to your face, like, oh, great job.
But that's the thing. Like now, I mean, again, you were there during that transition period where now there's all female promotions, all female pay-per-views. I mean, it's risen. I'll give a little constructive criticism to the WWE right now. A couple of years ago, they had their women's revolution or evolution, whatever they want to call it, their pay-per-view. They were focusing on the female talent on there. They had some of the best talent in the world, but it feels like it lasted for that moment. I feel like they've been doing fan service, like, oh, Sasha and Bianca and Mania, yeah, do that, and then we did it. They're happy. Good. Shut the fuck up. Back to work. And I feel like it's fan service. It's almost like they're doing it because they hear the roar of the crowd and the roar of the fans. We want this. We want this. You gonna pay for that? You got it. That's great, but one time only. That's it. And it's I don't know, man. I'm still feel like the business is far back on where it should be. Meanwhile, the talent is there to take control of the industry, to move on without the need of having a featured male on the card, without the need of having without saying, hey, this is a one-time deal, so take it or leave it, women's revolution pay-per-view. I mean, I think that the women in professional wrestling have fought and clawed and I don't want to say manufactured their skills, because they were manufacturing before when they were just pulling Playboy models like, hey, listen, you're real cute. Can you tuck and roll? Good enough. Bring it in, give her a contract. You always said you were never comfortable with that Barbie girl shit. And that's what I loved about the character, was that you were like, listen, I'm not here to be pretty. I'm here to fuck you up. And you did. And right now, I feel like there's so much more need of that, because I feel like the momentum has died down, that on the indies, you girls can raise it back up and the fans are eager. They're hungry for more of that talent, more of those shows.
Well, I'll say this too, though. Like the fans and stuff are a lot different now too. Like they look at the end of the day, mistakes happen. There's going to be stuff in matches where like that might not have been exactly right, and like sometimes things happen and no one will notice. The only people that will notice are you and the person in there. And then there's other times where things you could tell kind of might have just got off track and went a little awry, because at the end of the day, you're moving around, you're moving at high paces, you're doing things. Time could be like the fact of the matter is that you have to be on point every second of the match, and so does the person you're working with. And you know what? No matter how good you are, doesn't always happen.
Right.
You know, matter. You could both be amazing, and for some reason, like things happen. You slip something, whatever, and people used to be ruthless. They'd be like, "You fucked up. You suck. Ha ha. Whatever." Now it's like people are still like and clapping, and they're like, "Yeah," and you do something, no matter what it is. People are like still excited to see it, and it's just like that's really nice. Like I wish, like I'm like, oh my god, because I'd be in there with the "you fucked up" chant, and I'd be like, I gotta go home. I'm like, I gotta go home, and like, you'll see, like next week. I just need to go hide, and like stuff like that was very traumatic too. And I doubt it was just me, like, I like it affects you a lot. You go out there, you put your body online, you entertain people, and sometimes you just get roasted. And it's like because a lot of us always sat there, none of us ever said we're so amazing, we'll never make a mistake ever, we're so good, we're always going to have these like 5-star matches. Like, you don't think we know when we make a mistake?
Oh sure, definitely.
You don't think we've already completely run ourselves over and driven ourselves down as far as we can go
while the match is still happening?
Got it. Like, we already destroyed ourselves. We got it.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand, I mean, unfortunately we lost Daphne recently, but there's a lot of, people that have mental crises in this business. And first of all, you got your government name and your gimmick name, and you're trying to fight between the two, trying to live in real life, trying to be that person that you portray on TV, not bring your own demons into that character. But at the same time, when you're worried about your push, you're worried about your spot, you're worried about my contract's going to expire, they're going to re-sign me. Again, those mental health issues in this business, people take it lightly. They think, oh, they're wrestlers, they're good, they know what they're doing. They'll get. It's not as easy as it may seem, and it takes a mental toll. And everybody talks about their bump card. Oh, how many bumps you got left? Listen, there's some people out there who haven't even bumped yet on TV. And there's people out there who are seeing and just wondering, why haven't I got that call? Why haven't I got that look? Why haven't I gotten that interest yet? And that all eats away at the memory, at the ego, at just your emotions. And it's so hard, this business. And it's not like any other kind of entertainment business. Like, all right, well, if this doesn't work, I'll try that one, or I'll try this one. And you've got hundreds of opportunities, and you can go audition. Pro wrestling, there's only one real big one and one creeping up from behind. And if you don't make it with either one of those two, it's just like, well, enjoy being a weekend warrior. And a lot of people have problems swallowing that pill. I'm glad that you right now, you're in a position where like, look, I'm good with work. I'm good seeing other people succeed. But what advice do you have for people out there who are dealing with those mental demons because of what pro wrestling has done to them? It's a tough one, I know.
Well, it is, because I'm not gonna lie. Like, there are times where like I was mentally distraught and like really not well mentally, and like struggling and going to shows. And there were some shows and places where you would never guess that something was wrong with me. And then there's other ones where you're like, I don't know what the hell is going on with her, but something is wrong. And it's very difficult to always kind of have going on. And then what's scary is that the people that can do this all the time, you never see it coming, and they're probably the ones suffering the most. And in these these situations, like, look what you just referenced, like, you want to be able to do something, maybe you just don't realize it, or you don't know, or you just can't, or it's too late, or something like that. And then these awful things happen. And I think what I constantly, it's easier said than done. I don't know how else to say it, because it's so hard. But like, if I could talk to myself, I would try to program myself in my head then. Don't let them in your head. Don't take it so hard. It's not worth it. Like, you've still got the rest of your life. You've got all these other aspects. Don't let anything break you. It's okay.
Yeah.
That is so much easier said than done, because you know what people don't realize, and they'll always have like that slogan, sticks and stones, make words. No, words hurt. Words hurt. Words really do hurt. Physically, no. Mentally, you could destroy a person. And I don't know why anyone could ever have who could have enough of how do you do that? Yeah. What is wrong with you? Maybe they don't realize. Maybe they don't realize. Maybe they just came up a different way. Maybe they were just exposed to something else. Maybe they don't realize. And then there's the ones that that know. And you're just, what the hell is wrong with you? Yeah. And they love to ask some people that question, but I won't, because it's not my place. And I'm not confrontational, and I'm just like, but what I know now is that there are times where things can definitely still affect me, but it never will in that aspect again. Like, you'll never break me. You might rattle me a little bit where I'm just like, damn. And I'm just like, but then my good sense will be like, fuck them,
right.
Yeah. They'll fuck me up for a minute, but fuck them, man. People are mean sometimes. Words do hurt. And I wish, if I could say anything that makes sense, if anyone gets anything, think about it. Words hurt. Please choose your words and your actions more carefully, because you don't know what kind of effect you just had on someone and what they may or may not do. Right. And sometimes you cause harm to people and you might not even know it, because you're not there to see what damage they might have done to themselves or what slump you may have set them in. Maybe they stayed in bed for a week because they're too depressed to get out of bed. And people might mock someone for that. But again, who are you to tell someone what they can feel, what they can think? If they feel like they just don't have the strength to get up that day mentally, that's how they feel. And a feeling is a feeling. Yeah. No one should ever tell someone. You can have a disagreement on something, but not one person should ever tell another person how they can feel. A feeling is that's something you genuinely feel, that's organic to you. And it's not up to somebody else to be like, well, you're wrong. No, you might be wrong about, hey, I'm pretty sure the light we're approaching is red. No, it's green. No, it's probably red. Okay, there's different. Tell someone.
Gotta say that yellow territory. Hey,
right. Listen. No, the sky is orange. I think it's blue, but whatever.
Right.
Tell someone how they feel. And what they should feel, and
nobody knows your triggers. That's what the thing. You got to be careful. I mean, everybody's an eggshell. It's a land like a minefield. You don't know what they've been through. You don't know why they're here. But I don't mean to take this in a dark territory. I want to talk about something more uplifting. You've had the opportunity to wrestle some made talent. I know you had a great main event with Victoria. After a match like that, man, it's like, do you go to the back? You cried? Yeah. You're a big fan of hers, though, right? What's like being in there with one of your idols?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you see the footage, you can see my face definitely like this when I'm in the ring.
Yeah, stunned.
Yeah. I hope this goes okay. I'm gonna try my best. The last thing I want to do is shit the bed and be terrible here.
Right.
And I'm really proud of that match. She is so nice. She is so, and that's a perfect example of someone that's done it all, amazing, really good at everything she does, and still the nicest person to everyone.
Man.
Doesn't even matter if you just signed the paper to start training the day before. You are of equal because she treats people like people, which is something that needs to happen. People need to stop being well, I've been wrestling longer than you, which means that you're nobody and you're not a person. Right. And I, therefore, now have the right to treat you like shit, or we could be people that treat people like people. Exactly. She is one of the.
What kind of advice did she give you after the match? Like any good feedback, any good tips that she provided to you? That maybe you said, you know what, that's great. I'm gonna use that.
She did. She gave me a lot of good feedback, but a lot of but you know what? She also gave me these she told me all these great things, and then she you could do this, you could do that, you can go in this direction. but like nothing was ever nasty. You know, like someone could easily be like, listen, suck XYZ. That doesn't help anybody either.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you want to point out the good things in people, and like the minute you destroy them entirely, you've now discouraged them, and now you've definitely given them a complex.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like now they've got to somehow overcome that to then make this progress. But you probably just set them back like 5 miles. So remember that.
But are you one to go pick a veteran's brain in the locker room? Like, hey man, can I get like 2 minutes of your time? Just had a question. Big fan of yours, and I always watch my match. Or did you see my match? Is anything that you recommend? Are you that person that'll go there looking, say, man, this is an opportunity. I'm on the show with Jazz, or I'm on the show with Melina, whoever the case is. Let me just get 2 minutes of your time. Let me grab your ear a minute.
A lot of opportunities, I got to work some of them, and that was great because I would get the direct feedback after having the match with them, which was great. Right. And then there were definitely like when opportunity was there, because sometimes people would come and would depend on like their schedule and like where I was, where they were and stuff. And you could tell they had so much going on. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like you're going to have this match, and then they needed to be out there before the show, during intermission, and after the show for fans.
Yeah.
A lot of times it would be like, hey, you know, I know you're busy, but if you do have the time and you happen to see my match, you know, by all means, please, you know, please, if you could. And if they couldn't, understandable, you know, because look at it, look at the situation, you know, they have so much to do.
Yeah.
And then there's sometimes where it worked out and like people were able to like talk to me and tell me like some advice and like things that they like, things that are like, well, what, you know, you could try it this way and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Always very, very helpful. So in a lot of scenarios that would happen. And then there were other times that like the person might just been like, and then also having all the other matches on the card asking you the same question, that sometimes it just couldn't happen, which is okay. People are people, and realistically, you can't do it all.
Mm-hmm.
So, but a lot of instances where I did get some very helpful feedback, and I tried to improve upon it and do things differently, and hopefully I did. And hopefully the next time I made a mistake, it was just a different mistake.
What was the angle, the match, or the moment in pro wrestling that actually said where you were like, yeah, I got to do this. I fell in love with this business. I got to do this.
Oh, I mean, that's tough because I always just watched it. I was always in awe. I was like,
when did you start? About what year did you really dive deep into wrestling as a fan?
Well, I mean, I always watched it intensely, but for a while, I just I watched it as a fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you know, some people will say that they were like, I'm going to be a wrestler as a kid. I'm not going to say I watched it as a fan, always in like awe and stuff like that. I guess somewhere. Oh God, I loved it in middle school too and stuff like that. Somewhere probably in high school, I'm like, you know, I think I should try this. Yeah. Maybe I'm going to try this.
Right.
I think.
So before you even decided to become a wrestler, what was the thing that drew you into the culture? Not even the culture of wrestling, but just like, I got to watch this every Saturday morning. What was that moment that you saw on TV? Like, I love this. When is this on again? What's the TV guy that?
I don't know. You know, I watch it and like just watch it. And then obviously like I was watching it before you could even understand it. It was just on. Mm-hmm. You were a little kid, baby, and it was just on. And then, you know, the more you started to understand and see what was going on, you were like, wow. So like Macho Man would come out with his whole persona and his hat and his colors and were like entertaining, and his promos, you were just like, wow. You like half the time you don't even understand what he's saying, especially as but you're there. Same with Ultimate Warrior, and like these colors and these characters and this entertainment. And then it's like, there's the bad guy, and you're just like, wow. And that was pretty much how it was. And then like then came, and he was super flamboyant and like flashy and charismatic. And then he was awesome too. And you're just like, and then Brett was super technical, and you're just like, God, he's meticulous, which as a kid, he's awesome. The older you get and you're watching, you're like, he is freaking flawless. Like,
did you have a particular match that you would go back and study move for move, pound for pound, like maybe get another girl or a boy or brother or sister, just like, hey, listen, work these steps with me. I know what I'm doing. I'm gonna try the shit out on you.
My sister would have definitely been like, what?
You're like, oh, wait, well, no. Good.
Where are you going? I was the youngest, so
yeah.
So not in that aspect. So I never really got anyone to practice anything on, but just taken aback. And I'd watch some stuff too. I remember in NYWC, one of the learning things that we did was that we had to pick a match and we had to write a paper on it.
Oh, what was your match?
I picked Bret Hart versus Kurt Hennig in Maple Leaf Gardens.
And a house show.
Yeah.
Shout out to that's the kind of shit I'm talking about. That's a student of the game. You didn't give me some. Oh, it's Kurt Hennig at SummerSlam 91. We all saw that. You found a fucking house show in Maple Leaf.
And when I got the response, because they would give you like they would tell you like they read it and what they thought of what you read and like the and stuff. They're like, I really thought this was going to be the SummerSlam match, and I was like, wasn't.
The same shit I said. That's what I'm talking. That's how you score points.
I'm pretty sure if I were to go into my living room and go through the draw in there, I am pretty sure I'm so proud of that paper. It's still in there.
Oh, you know what? We got to talk about that paper one day. And it's funny because I was doing a thing on the podcast called Anatomy of a Match. And I hate
break everything down and like the story they were telling and like why you think they did this there. And like, you had to like understand because that was part. And I think we've done that several times. I think that was helpful because you could talk about, well, this is the part of the match and this is how it works. No, until you actually analyze it and like make analyze it wrong. Like the first few I did, I'm just like, I got some of it right, and then some of it I was just interpretation. That, and then you learn. Like I think that definitely clicked into my head on how to make things make sense.
Exactly.
So I was. This goes here. This makes sense here. You can't do that. You shouldn't do that because this is why that's not going to work. Or if you do that, you're kind of just shitting on this, and that's going to make that look bad. But if you do something like this, that's going to make it look good. That'll resonate with the audience better. And it's just like, oh, they're going to be on the edge of their seat for this, and then you're going to steal it away or something, and like you're going to get that. You can't just do this because you might not get like that big reaction. Just wait, let's do this.
Right, man. I'm going to send you a link one day. I got to recut it, but because YouTube, thank you, YouTube. I want to give a shout out to you. They're like, oh, you can't put that match on YouTube. So it's kind of like, well, how the fuck they going to know what I'm talking about? What I'm talking about? I'm breaking this match down frame by frame. But I did one of Jake the Snake Roberts and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, not a blow-off match, not a televised match. We give the history of what happened on Saturday night's main event, but then we go to a house show at the Boston Gardens, and you feel like, okay, Ricky came back with a vengeance. Because of what happened, he's going in there with determination and a purpose. But Jake's been watching tape. Jake knows where the chops go. Jake's blocking. Jake needs to take away his arsenal. He needs to take away his fly. He needs to take away his hands. And that match is absolutely brilliant. But the fact that you pull out a house show of Hennig and Hart at the Maple Leaf Gardens, and again, they really didn't have a big storyline going, but at that time, it was
great story that told though.
That in that one night. Oh my God, I so much respect for you. And this is why a brain like yours belongs in this business. Shout out to you, my girl. Thank you for that.
I got to read it because it was Alex and it was Tony Nese. Alex was the one that got mine. And like, we just had a great little conversation. Like he gave me an email and I was just like, so fantastic. He was very helpful because a lot of like knowledge came from them as well, which was really helpful to me. See, a lot of the times, like, I can think of things and I can make it make sense and I can do that. A lot of times I think that my body won't follow what I want. And I'm like, great, like better off, man.
Yeah.
But, so I'm glad like try this and like let someone else do it because I'm like, you're probably going to pull it off. Like my body's going to be like, maybe not. Sorry.
Listen, girl. Listen, you may if you never main event WrestleMania, you should definitely be a coach or something like that. They can use a brain like yours out there. Shout out to you. While we're wrapping up, two more things I want to cover with you. One, for fans out there who aren't familiar with Nikki Addams, one, tell them where your socials are, but more importantly, not only just tell them where they can follow you, where they can see more of you, but recommend to them 2 or 3 matches that they can find on YouTube where they can see some of your best performances.
Oh yeah. Well, just so we know, I'm hard on every performance. I come back from the curtain, even if it was a good match, and I'm just like, like what did I do? I'm like, what a mess. And then I'll get a little better. But like, just so we know, just so we're all fair, come back every match and I just roast myself. I light myself on fire, like figuratively. So again, so for the people that are out there, but like, I'm like, well, I got it. I just myself. Don't worry. Okay. So social media is Nikki Addams, 2Ks, 2Ds on Facebook, and it's at the Nikki Addams on Twitter and at Nikki Addams. I should put the in Instagram too, but it's just at Nikki Addams on Instagram. That's what I have. Don't do the Snapchat. I'm not mentally equipped to do TikTok. Sorry. I'm very technologically not savvy, so I'll laugh at your TikToks, but I can't create them. So none of that. So some matches that I would like. Okay, so I have a match with Masha Slamovich that happened earlier this year that I really love.
Oh, okay.
Her earlier this year. I'm dressed, not that people might resonate with this, but I'm dressed like Live Aid Freddie Mercury.
But I saw the photos backstage. Yes.
Live Aid Freddie. And it's like, because I have a couple of matches up there with Masha, maybe 2, maybe 3. I have a couple, but they're like singles matches. That might be 2 or 3, but it's the most current one. You'll see me. I'm literally in the match. I'm wearing jeans and like a white top. So that's the match. But I actually like all my matches with Masha. Like, she's awesome.
Okay.
Like, she's like just great. I don't know how to say it. Like, just great person. It's like, she's great at what she does. Like, I hope, like, she's doing big things, and I hope she just explodes and does like the biggest of the big. That's what I hope for. And I think it'll happen because she's awesome. So that's a match that I really, really like. What else? I had a match with Ray Lynn. What was supposed to be my retirement match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really Funk.
Yeah, right. I enjoy that match a lot too. And then you know, I mean, you said 3. Those are like ones that I really enjoy. And then
was there a reason you were having a retirement match? I mean, were you legit thinking about calling it quits?
Yeah, I was burnt out.
Oh, wow, okay.
Mentally defeat. I told you, like, that flame was definitely out. And be like, ugh. And it wasn't about like, because I still enjoyed putting matches together, and I still enjoyed. I think it was just like, we know that the wrestling and the art of the wrestling is not the problem. There's a lot that goes into it sometimes, and I think mentally across the board with all of it, I just a toll was taken on me with a lot of experience, a lot of issues. And to be honest, there's real life stuff in there as well, and it's just like, but you know, you can't not just go to work.
Right. Yeah.
That factor in there that changed things, and it's just like, I just started to know, it's like when I wanted to fast forward over it, that was a problem. And it's not that I wanted to fast forward over it. It was like, I don't want to work with it. It wasn't that. It's that I'm just like, maybe I'm just not here for it. And you know what? Nobody else deserves, the people working with me won't deserve to suffer from that.
Okay.
So it's like, you know what I mean? So yeah, I very much was like, I don't know. I'm like, I definitely in the long run needed that time. Like I said, that time off, which was very helpful to me because it like revamped and like things fell into place and like took a different turn for me in all aspects of my life, which was very, very positive. The Victoria match also, like, that is always going to have a special spot for me.
Sure.
But there's plenty of other matches I like too, like the match with Melina, very blessed to have, and like she did a lot for me in there as well. Like there's a lot to pick from, but like there's certain like example, like I didn't think I was going to be able to hack it in the match with Victoria, and when I did, like the emotion and everything, I felt like a lot of it comes from emotion as well. Like that when I came back from the match with Masha too, I like had a mental breakdown, but not in a bad way.
Sure.
Especially with the time off and like being like, I'm older, I took this time off, I haven't been bumping, I don't know if I'm going to be super rusty, because you can't just fix that in like a couple of sessions, you know. Right. My cat better not knock over my drink. I don't care. So if I
off the top
move, right, but like those ones where I'm just like, oh, I'm like, did I get through this? I can't believe it. And like being able to have some like really proud moments, you know, and like ones where it's like the deck was really stacked high on it. Like that one match, I was just like, I don't know if I can do this. And then I'm just like, well, here goes. See, music, see everybody, gotta go. And then you come back and you're like more in awe. So those I think would be emotions, because in a lot of those ones for sure, I had such severe doubt in myself.
Oh wow!
There were other times where I might not have been like, I'm gonna have the best match ever, but it's just like, look, I know I'm decent. I know I can get through this. Like, I know I can have a decent match, you know? Would this person have a better match with someone else? Yeah, sure, maybe. But I knew that it would be okay. But there's like those ones I had such severe doubt in my brain. And I'm just like, I don't know. You know, I'm like, I don't really know. And to come back and be like, you know what, that went a lot better than I thought. I can't believe it. That was a good feeling.
You're wrestling more than your opponent. You're wrestling yourself. That's the toughest thing. But the good thing is, what's that?
Always me against me in my own brain.
Yeah.
Like, always me versus me.
But when it's over, you got to have that moment. You've changed. You're in the bathroom. You look at yourself in the mirror like, you're that fucking good, man. Shout out to you, kid. You don't.
Those moments, I'm just like,
stop being so tough on yourself.
Like, that was a good night. You're okay. You're okay.
It was a good night, man.
You're solid. Yeah, you get in the car and you're like, you're all right.
You're good.
You know what?
Here's too humble.
Thank you. It's a tough thing because it's like you want to have confidence, you want to be humble, but you also don't want to be like, look, I'm the greatest thing. My shit doesn't stink. Because again, as great as you are, there's going to be times where maybe you just don't have chemistry with someone or something goes down. Like, I'm never going to be unrealistic. Look, I'm solid. I have some really good ones. I have some not so good ones.
But that's you can accept that criticism. You know who you are, but don't undersell yourself, man, because you're fucking awesome. And I saw these videos and I'm like, yo, I need to see more of this.
Like, in the locker room, I was just like, oh, on myself. And then my opponent was just like, oh my God, why? Oh my God. I'd be like, like, what do you mean? Like, what are you doing this to yourself? And I'm like, oh, this is just me. It's okay. It's just me. If I didn't do this, it wouldn't be myself. So
right.
Don't worry about it.
Well, before we wrap it up, you've mentioned several times you're a big Freddie Mercury fan. Oh, yeah. All right. I want to see how big of a Freddie fan you are. Like I'm a huge. Oh, look at this. Here she goes. All right. Oh, I'm loving it. Is that from Bohemian Rhapsody? Was that like a riff from the poster?
Could have been. Like, this is just Freddie's like
his silhouette with the
So, this was a gift from a lovely man. He knows who he is.
Oh, shout out to him, man. He knows where your heart is. All right. But I want to see where your brain is. I'm going to ask you some Freddie questions real quick. I want to see how, because listen, I'm a huge Kanye West fan. If you would have quizzed me on Kanye West, I'd fail miserably. I just love, he's a musical genius. All right. But I want to see how much you love this Freddie guy, because you're dressing up like Freddie. You said you had the jeans, the tank top, the band.
Oh, I wore a mustache. So
you wore
those photos, and the match, I'm sure will hit social media soon. I mean, the secret's not a secret anymore. This last one I did, I want to break free Freddie. So yeah, you got to do it right. Like, I'm already a female, so it's like him dressing up and having them like, no, to get the point across, I've now got to wear the mustache. It didn't stay on for the match, but
okay. But yeah, you came out with it. There's a photo. It happened. All right. Yeah. So let me ask you. I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions. I'm gonna see if you get these right or not. What's Freddie's government name?
Barack Obama.
All right. Where was he born?
Zanzibar.
Woo. All right. Now they're gonna get a little harder now. How many extra teeth did Freddie have in his mouth?
I think 4.
Ooh, she is good. All right. So Freddie was said to be a pretty good table tennis player. What sport did Freddie say he was brilliant at?
That I don't know.
Boxing. I was shocked.
Really? I'm shocked too, but that's awesome.
He said rugby and soccer didn't do it for him. He says, but I'm a brilliant boxer. I was like, if you say so, all right.
And he probably was, though, because like, you know what? He was so talented at so many things. He probably really was. He probably was like, he could, like, look at the way he moved on stage. Like, you're telling me the way he scooted across stage during Radio Gaga. Like, I'm sure he could just do that to get out of the way of something. I actually did not know that.
I did. Listen, it's news to me too.
The other day about him that I didn't know. It like popped up. It's like, who dated Mary before Freddie and Queen? I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, who dated Mary before Brian May? And I was just like, man, they really get along. And they were like, you know what? Didn't work out for me. That's fine. You guys are great. Go do it. And I'm like, well, that's a friendship.
Yeah, damn right. Like, listen, I'm done. If you want to take a shot of this, it's all you. I'm good.
No, but like, yeah, like I was just like, I found that out like recently, and I was just like, damn, talk about understanding.
Okay. Well, so Freddie was apparently a big wordsmith. So what was his favorite board game that he played very intently and very seriously?
That I don't know either. I'd go with Scrabble, I guess.
Exactly. He used to come up with these big words and say, you know what? I want to play Scrabble right now. Get the board because I'm going to use this right here. I'm the only one who knows how to spell it. Apparently, he was big on that. I don't know. I don't know if Freddie was in spelling bees out in India, whatever the case was, but Freddie knew his shit.
No,
All right.
he was so intelligent because he went to private school and everything he did, he took seriously. He even graduated school and like had all these things. Like, you know, people will, I'm going to ditch school and just go do this. He went to school and did everything and like
got a degree in the arts.
Yes. And like very, very intelligent, like remarkable, like so brilliant.
All right. Here's another one for you. So Freddie loved art, as we just mentioned, and his paintings is what inspired his songs. But he was also an avid collector of what?
I feel like I know this. I know this and I'm not knowing it.
I'm going to put it out there. It was stamps.
I knew it.
You knew that? Apparently that's a big thing.
That doesn't sound like him.
Like, like you, but he got the teeth. He's just like licking shit. Maybe that was it. He just had all that mouth of his.
You know what? Again, though, like I thought his smile was great. He owned it, and like find out later that he was really insecure about it. Yeah, you know, like he wouldn't change it because he was afraid it would affect his voice.
Yep. And
you know what? I find that completely. I don't think it made him any less. Like, I thought he was great. And people were like, oh, I don't know. Listen, he was a handsome man. Leave him alone.
He's unique.
And yes, that was the cute that my cat brought me because he plays with them.
Here's the last one for you. And this is the one I had most fun with. So Freddie had 3 very close friends, Elton John, Rod Stewart, and it was him, Elton John, and Rod Stewart. So they were like a trio. All right. But they had drag nicknames for each other. What was each of their nickname?
Okay, well, Freddie was Melina.
Yes. All right.
And Elton was Sharon.
Yep.
And, you know, I honestly don't remember like seeing anything in regard to Rod Stewart. So I'm not sure about Rod Stewart.
He was Phyllis.
Phyllis.
Yo, but shout out to you. I was like, she don't know, right? Look, I didn't know Freddie. I did the research on that shit. You a Freddie fan. Shout out to you.
I didn't know. They catch me off guard because I'll know like all these other random things about him. Those definitely threw me for a loop. But like, really, fun fact, just so everyone can know this last one. He wrote Crazy Little Thing Called Love in 10 minutes in his bathtub.
In his bathtub. I saw that too. I was like, she probably knows this.
Ass hit, and that's how incredibly talented this man was. They was just like hit.
Yeah. Make some music to this. This is good shit right there. I got some lyrics.
Like if I had like even like a centimeter of that talent in any aspect, like could you imagine? Like he is so flawlessly talented in everything. Also, if people are curious, aside from that, I adore him on how much he just didn't give a shit. Like he was who he was. And if you, again, kind of like Sherry, you like it, cool. If you don't, hey, there's the door. That's cool. And not to mention getting diagnosed with something so horrible and just looking it in the face and be like, don't feel bad for me. I'm good. I just live my life to the fullest. Let's make some music until I can't anymore. And like singing lyrics that are telling people like, look, I'm out of here. Like the show must go on. He's like, guys are going to go on without me. And like, if that were me, like I'd be in my bed in fetal position before I even started to get worse. Like, like my mentally, I'd be broken and over. Like, that's strange.
And did you know that there was so much conflict over that decision? Because he made the announcement publicly one day before he died.
Yeah.
So people were pissed. Like, well, Freddie, if you would have told us sooner, we could have went and we could have raised money for people. He's like, I didn't want to be that guy. Not that I didn't want to raise money, but I didn't want people to feel sorry for me. I didn't want people to expect things out of me that I couldn't do and give in return. I want to take this personally. I want to suffer personally. I didn't want to share that with the world. And I let you know the day before I went. And wow, that guy was just, I mean, strong-hearted, such an entertainer, such a performer. I'm not the biggest. I mean, I love Queen. I love Freddie Mercury. Like I said, I'm a big Kanye West guy. So, you know, and I love what he stands for. He's a wild asshole, but musically, genius. But man, shout out to you. I love what you bring to the table. I love your artistic talent. I love the way you think, the way you bring the culture of music, your passion, the business, how you look at pro wrestling. Girl, seriously, share this with the world. The reason why I want you on the show is because more people need to know about Nikki Addams, and I hope that this is the first step in them doing so. So thank you for joining us here today on the Midnight Hustle.
Thank you. Truly a pleasure. And thank you so much for thinking so highly of me.
Oh, man. Well, I hope we have you back soon. But ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time. I am DieHard Derek Gordon. That is Nikki Addams. You know where to find her. She told you. If not, look her up. She's all over the place kicking people's asses. And this is the Midnight Hustle Podcast. Can you dig it? We're out of here. Peace. Can you dig it?